all want to make money by doing something we love. If you could turn your hobby into your job, you'd never work a day in your life, right? Welcome to Hobby Hustle, the ultimate podcast where collecting passion and business collide. Now, here's your host, Zach Nygett.
Welcome to episode 8 of Hobby Hustle. I'm your host, Zach Nygett, and I appreciate you taking a moment to spend time with us. If you've been enjoying the pod, please be sure to like, subscribe, rate us, and of course, share with your friends. Additionally, please leave a comment to share any thoughts, suggestions that you have. I greatly appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoy our show. Today's guest is a longtime collector and music lover. His past experiences have included a variety of work within the sneaker space, as well as work within the authentication and preservation space. His PC contains a combination of music, toys, cards, and fashion. You can find him on Instagram at AMG Grading and his website, audiomediagrading.com. I'm honored to welcome a passionate collector and the Chief Visionary Officer at Audio Media Grading, Robbie Martinez, to the show. Robbie, welcome, man. How are you today?
Thank you, man. Honored to be here. Crazy Monday, but when is it not a crazy Monday, right?
Exactly. So, hey, I know you and I had an opportunity to connect in Cleveland and chop it up a bit. So just sort of some reflective thoughts. What are your thoughts, memories, experiences about the show?
I would say the best thing was the people. Just meeting people and whether it, and I'm not even talking about influencers and none of that, because I know all those guys.
Yeah.
It's meeting like the random people that come up to you and tell you, like there was a few AMG customers there, and me walking around and them kind of sharing their stories of how AMG has helped their collectible space and how passionate they are as much as I am, um and for me those are like the interactions that I really remember. The regular people walking around that make up the hobby. I liked hearing their stories. I like getting to meet them and seeing how their passions came about. So I'm kind of like a mini interviewer. Like it'll be like mini interview segments with each person where I want to know what makes them tick.
Totally.
And those are my favorite parts of the National.
I love that. I got to agree, man. I mean, there's just so many amazing people within this space. And speaking of collectors and collecting, as I have people on, I love to learn about sort of your origins of collecting. So can you tell us a little bit about sort of what got you into collecting?
So I would say what got me in collecting first was music. I was a political refugee with my father. We're from Nicaragua. That's a whole other podcast, but
we'll get into that one next.
Yeah. So my uncle worked at a thrift store, and my uncle, who just passed away recently, was a big influence too. But he used to give my father used vinyls that would come into the store, and my dad, got a vinyl record player, and he used to put stuff on. And I was a small child, and I think that's where my love for music started. I knew English before Spanish, so I understood what the records were saying, and my dad didn't, so he would use me as his little translator. Like, what's Michael Jackson saying? What's Madonna talking about in this song? What's Prince talking about? And I'm like, yo, he's heartbroken, and he's telling this girl to be. So I was like his little, translator. And for me, that's where I got the attachment to music, because my father loved music so much and my uncle loved music so much. So it began this thing where I got older, and the first thing I started collecting were baseball cards and records as a
Okay.
small child. I already had like a little mini record collection that I inherited from my dad. So that's the first collection I could say that was like, 90 things. And I was like, all right, I got a lot of these things. How can I get more?
Yeah.
And so I grew up loving hip hop and the whole culture. I could say I didn't grow up a Nicaraguan. I grew up in hip hop culture. And so for us, we're crate diggers, what you would call, and the whole aspect of sampling was interesting to me as a child, and people just looping up little segments of music, and so you would have to find real obscure records to sample. So I would go in a thrift store, and there were 25 cents, and I would take a 45, I would take a record and take it home, play it, and even if I didn't have a sampler at the time, which my uncle did, I would just play the record and be like, oh, that's a part I could take. And I would like mark it in my little notebook, like 5 seconds into this record, there's a sample And I still have this notebook as a child. This is a child doing this,
That's
like
awesome.
11 to 12 years old,
Yeah.
and marking down what record it's from. So as I got older, I got into the hip hop culture for real. Like I was someone in I would guess you could say the New York underground, and I had a very eclectic sampling technique where it was like I was sampling like Norwegian pop records from the 70s that were very obscure, or South Korean pop records from the 60s that from an obscure company, like stuff
Yeah.
that doesn't even exist,
Totally.
people would even think of to sample. So I would say that's how the love for collecting started, with music. And then with sports cards, it was just 80s, 90s stuff. Like, a lot of people don't know this about me. I collect really high-end Eric Carrolls
Okay. Cool,
from
man.
the
He was a
dot.
stud back in the day.
Yeah, man. So that was me growing up as a Dodger fan in LA, and watching Fernando Mania, Earl Hershiser, Eddie Murray, Pedro Guerrero, Brett Butler, Raul Mondesi, and I PC mostly Griffey, Bonds, Piazza. Those are like the top, I guess,
Okay.
guys that you could
Cool.
say I was collecting. I would go into a store. I would rip 1992 score, 1991 score, really like junk wax, low end stuff,
Totally.
with the cheap little packs and everything. And I remember I would steal quarters from my mom's little quarter jar. It was 50 cents a pack. So
Yeah.
so my mom had a quarter jar, and I would be like, every week I think I would take $5 in quarters and go to the store and get myself a pack of score and try to find that elusive, like I think they had a Joe DiMaggio chase card on that.
Okay.
And so I thought I was gonna get like an auto. Like that was like the very first, I think, chase for me that I
Yeah.
remember. It was in Score. Score had like, and I think Donruss Elite had like signature cards. So I would go to the card shop. I remember high end was like Pinnacle because of the
Mm-hmm.
black borders, and I would go to the card shop, my card shop guy was so cool. He would just give me free packs because it was miles away. I would get there on a skateboard, on a bike, 10 miles away, and I would still go to the card shop as a kid in LA.
I love
So
that.
so I
That's
said
awesome.
I guess that's the genesis of me as a collector. Yeah.
Totally, man. I think that's a lot of us like 80s, 90s kids, like similar stories, right? And the fact that you said we could get a pack for 50 cents is just that doesn't exist anymore. But like, that was awesome. And yeah, I remember those cellophane packs. I didn't collect as much Score baseball. I ripped a lot of Score football, that iconic Bo Jackson card with, the baseball football stuff on. And
Yeah.
but that was fun, man. And I too have stories about that local card shop. We'd go spend, I don't even know how much money, but whatever we had, it got spent. And our guy would always hook us up at Gem Sports Cards, man. I remember that guy. That's cool. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I guess over the years we've sort of, some people recently have seen you on King of Collectibles and know you have some pretty impressive hip hop pieces. Can you talk to us about sort of how your collection evolved from the junk wax era early into what you collect today?
So I guess you could say right now I'm in my high end life.
Yeah.
I collected every base card. I collected every base record. In music, it's almost the same as cards, man. There's a rookie record. That's what I call them. Just the first pressing of your favorite rap group, your
Okay.
favorite prog rock group. Beatles stuff is very expensive. That's like the 52 mano of collecting. The White Album. I think
Right.
it's like the top of the line, like I can't even afford it type stuff. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like that's only stuff Steve Aoki can afford. But right now, I guess I'm collecting like very limited pressings of 90s hip hop albums, even the reissues that are limited, but mostly I would say signed vinyl first pressing, even if it's open
Okay.
or sealed. I don't really care as long as it's like the first pressing signed by that artist. That is to me like like a Bowman first sign by a player. So that's what I'm mostly collecting right now. 90s hip hop. I love new wave. I'm a big Depeche Mode guy, so I'm looking for first pressing sealed Depeche Mode
Okay.
signed by Depeche Mode. So those are like my chases right now. Mostly music and cassettes as well. Um, trying to find a tribe called Quest Records signed by Five, RIP to Five, MF Doom
Yep.
stuff,
Yep.
Raekwon the Chef, Purple Tapes, sealed by him. I think is probably the luxurious cassette item of this hobby is the Purple Tape from Raekwon the Chef from 1995. I'm still looking for a good. I got a sealed one, but I got a seven. You know, just because I run this place, I don't get tens. So so I got a seven. I was like, oh man, I gotta find another one. I'm trying to get to eight or nine,
Okay.
and I'll talk about the scale later on.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm mostly collecting a lot of vinyl that's signed.
Cool. I love that. That's awesome stuff. Yeah, I definitely need to get a little bit more educated in the music collection space. But those artists you listed off are all legends, and I was fortunate enough I got to see Raekwon one time. That was a pretty cool show. So I hope you can track down that tape. That'd be a cool piece to add to the PC, man. So you mentioned the music grading side, obviously, and a lot of people know that you're doing the grading, but you've not always been in that space your entire career. Can you sort of talk us through how you got here and some of your early experiences?
Yeah, sure. I started, I would say, in the sneaker realm, and Matt Halfhill can correlate with this. If you don't know who Matt Halfhill is, he runs nicekicks.com, which is like probably the biggest sneaker journalist site in the world.
Yeah,
And I was you can ask Matt. I was writing as Nice Kicks when that first started, and I was pretty much the world's first sneaker journalist.
very cool.
Um, I would go to releases. Nike would send me insider info, um, pictures that no one needed to have, release dates that no one knew, and I would say it correlated with me being a manager at a finish line at like 19. And I would still say to this day that was my favorite job. Um,
Just be around sneakers all day, man.
yeah, just being around sneakers, man. I was a baller. I was a basketball player, street baller. So to me, that was like heaven
Totally.
back then. But I had to move on because you start getting connections and the ladder keeps moving up, and I think I would have been happy even till this day if, if I was just running a sneaker store. But I think Gary from Dunk Exchange hit me up, and he knew I was moving to New York City to try to get a job at Nike. And the first thing he asked me with him and his partner is, do you want to help manage the Dunk Exchange in New York City? And I went, it's a tall task, but I could help out definitely. And I was in charge of like the dealers and bringing in sponsorships and kind of like making that show bigger. We started at Crash Mansion, a place that I think I held only 300 people, and then became this big thing where it was like an abandoned warehouse that could hold 5,000 people, I think, at the time at the pier. And music artists started coming in. I booked a lot of artists. I met a lot of artists like Mac Miller, K. Dot, Charles Hamilton, Asher Roth, the Underground. I had Sean Price come in, and he became a good friend of mine through Dunk Exchange.
Very cool.
And all these people became more like peers to me. And then I secretly the whole time was in the back end of this, just working on my craft, which was like lyricism, production, and a lot of people mess with it. And it was like kind of like, like plug one from De La Soul and Sean Price telling me you got to do this, you got to help. Even if you don't become an artist, you can help other people develop their music.
Hmm.
And so I had a background in engineering, sound engineering, and music production, and that's mostly what I worked as. I would say as a sound engineer at first, and then music production, as an artist, putting shows together. So from Dunk Exchange, I moved on into being like a show producer. Like I used to put shows together in the city and bring people together and be like, you want to rock the mic? I could put it together. I could throw a flyer. Even if it was like the most rinky-dink place in the world, like grimy dungeon, or to some of the biggest stages in New York, I would put stuff together. I was a dot connector, you
Yeah,
know
totally.
and not just as an artist myself, but I was very proud of everything I did in New York City, and that whole movement with like ASAP Rocky, the whole World's Fair guys from Queens, I mean, that whole movement, that New York era, it was very fun. It was very fun for me, and I loved it, and it was a part of my growth. And then from there, I just became like some sort of ghostwriter for the industry, a ghost producer, and stuff I can't speak about because the
Sure.
contracts are still signed. But
Fair, man. Well,
definitely, I grew as a songwriter. I would write like R&B, raps. Sometimes I would just go in and fly in and sequence a drum pattern, you know,
yeah.
and that would be it. You know what I mean? Because I learned in the industry that the main producer gets the credit because he's instructing all the other producers
Sure. Yeah.
how to do things, or you just bring in yours, and he's like, it was my idea to bring that guy in. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
and so I learned the politics of music, and from there, though, in my mind, I was like, if I'm not gonna be the star, I want to create something that's my own, like just an idea that no one's done before. I want it to be the guy to bring it to the table and make it come to fruition, and that's where AMG came about. You know?
Yeah. I love that. That's really cool. And I got a chance to check out some of your music, which is really awesome stuff, man. Like I said, it's sort of unique and like melodic, hip hoppy,
Mhm.
some killer beats. So big props on that. I need to dive in a little bit more, but it was cool to find that side of you because I just know you, like I said, is AMG Robbie and the grading side. So
Mhm.
let's fast forward from the sneaker life, the production life to February 2023. You meet up with Steve Aoki somehow and you become the chief visionary officer for audio media grading. Can you tell us about that story a little bit?
So that one kind of started, I think 2021.
Oh, okay.
Um, I worked at a other grading company, and I had ideas for that company, like starting a new medium, trying to incorporate, other type of grading into the collectibles market. And they didn't know who Steve Aoki was, but I did. Um, one thing that I will say is when I did start this, I knew I couldn't do it from the perspective of like going into it with a small company. I just feel like I needed a lot of financial backing to make it a thing, and I needed a big cosign. And at the time, I was watching Sports Card Investor,
Okay.
and Steve was on there, and he said he had asked PSA, I guess Nat, to start a grading company, but they were kind of just more, PSA was focused on expanding. I think COVID came around and they were trying to figure out how to manage that and their whole backlog, and PSA themselves have been expanding, new facilities, new markets. They need to build more facilities working on the comic grading. I mean, this stuff takes R&D years and years before you
Yeah.
can even go to market, you
Sure.
know? So for me, when I one night I just decided to DM Steve Aoki really late too, and I didn't think much of it. I just kind of gave him a short paragraph, and I told him I have an idea. If there's anyone I would do this with, it would be with you. And the message went along the lines of, I think your passion for music would be just as equal to mine, in terms of, he's been in the music industry for years, and people can say what they say about Steve Aoki. Steve Aoki is such a great person, and he's such an innovator, and he sees things. You know what I mean? Like, he sees things before they happen, I would say. And and for me, it was like he believed in the vision, and I
Yep.
can't. I can't come up here with the words to for him to be like, you know what? Let me take a chance with this guy. I don't
Okay.
know him from a hole in the wall, but I believe in his passion and his vision, and to me, I can never thank Steve enough for that, where he just said, show me some schematics, show me what you can do. Can you come up with prototypes? I want to show my management. I'm trying to get you in the door, but you need to show me something. And
Mm-hmm.
and and me and Ken Black, the COO at AMG, we kind of just, I remember when I went up to him and I'm like, hey man, Steve Aoki wants to see something from us in like a week. And he goes, I remember Kenny looked at me. He was like, "Who the fuck's Steve Aoki?" And I'm like, "Shut up." Listen to me. We're gonna make this happen.
Yeah, this is
Um,
our chance. It doesn't matter who Steve Aoki is.
yeah, I'm like, just make the damn prototype, and we're
Yeah,
gonna go do it right now. Like, we
yeah,
need it now, now, now.
yeah.
And luckily, yeah, like I think the first ever prototype, and this is a fun fact, was shown at Star Wars Celebration that year.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
we just took it and we put it out there, and people were just looking at it like, what the fuck is going on? Like, is that what I think it is? And we didn't say nothing. We
Yeah.
just put it out there, just kind of like in its own little thing, and people were like, is that? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, yeah.
That's
That's
what you
what it
thinking.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, all right, but it's the first of its kind. It was like our iPhone 1.
Right.
To me, right now, we're in the iPhone 4 at AMG, in
Okay.
terms of cases and, some innovation that we've made happen here because of Steve's, connections and networking and the money that has been invested in this company.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, it goes to show you, right? A, the power of social media, right? Without it, you guys probably never would have been connected. But B, just the hustle, right? And to show your passion come through. And that clearly resonated with Steve and it resonates with other people. And I love to hear those types of stories because that's why I'm doing this podcast, right? It's
Yeah.
about finding people who are so passionate about what they do and you've been able to chase that. And I think there's a golden rule in there in life just about, if you follow your passions, good things will happen. As long as you're willing to put in the work, right? Nothing's easy. But
Nope.
that's really cool to hear that. So, on the music grading, and you said you showed up, and no one sort of knew what it is. I don't know if everybody understands what music grading is. So could you explain a little bit more about what that is and sort of the process at AMG and what makes up maybe the grade?
All right. So it's just like card collecting, but there's different variances in grading scale, I would say. Um, I'll say this statement for anyone that wants to come back to this in the future, but I'm going to say it once again. In this collectible space, a 9 is a 10.
Okay.
So when you
To
get a
clarify,
9,
for the music grading stuff you're saying.
yeah, the
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
rating,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
our scale is like a 9 is a 10. So if you open up your AMG and you get a 9, you're like, bang, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got it. You are like top 5%, you know? A 8 is like getting a 9, and so on and so forth. When you get
Sure.
a 10, it's like getting a black label.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different ways to grade things, and sometimes I could get into this. It took us like a year. I built the scale with actually a PSA and BGS grader who
Oh,
was a
cool.
senior grader. So he was my guy, and we developed the scale together. And it wasn't like it just out of nowhere in one day we did this scale. It was like years. We were thinking about the comic book scale, the 9.6 and
Yeah.
9.8. That doesn't work in music. It's too much variables in
Hmm.
how much space is on a vinyl. There's a lot more space. And for me, it was like, nah, that's not gonna work. We tried that first, and we're like, no, there's because we graded three 9.6s and they all look different. You know,
Yep. Yep.
it's too much, too many variables. Then we went to the half grades, which worked better, but still, it was too much variance for me. And then I told Steve what he thought of it, and he's like, I think the easiest way to do this is a PSA scale
Hmm.
using that because it's way easier to tell it's a 10, a 9, an 8, 7,
Yep.
and not explain to someone why they were point 0.4 off on from their last grade. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, totally.
it's just too much of a variance, especially in music when you have so much more real estate to pick apart. But let's just grab a vinyl
Yeah.
and for 2 minutes see what we find.
Let's do it. I love it. A true show
So
and tell.
yeah, so this here is a Alchemist. Shout out to Alchemist, my boy. And this is his first ever single. Now, let's say someone sent this to AMG. Obviously, I played this, so it's not going to get graded.
Sure.
And just PSA out there that everything is not meant to be graded. Just like cards, some cards are meant to be raw, other stuff. I still listen to my music. I didn't make this company to grade every single piece of music media.
Yeah.
It's the important stuff. It's stuff that's important to you. It might be your father's collection. or whatever it's going to be. Whatever is important to you, you could grade to it or it has value to it. That's what I usually tell people. So when I look at this, this has, let's see if I could show some stuff I already see. I
Okay.
see a lot of edging going
Yep.
on there, a lot of
Yep.
damage.
Yeah,
So to
that's
me,
coming through.
a lot of discoloration on the corners. I don't see any bends. Let me see here. Yeah, not a lot of bends. I just see kind of like there, right there. I see some black, some dirt, some blemish going on there.
Yep, I see some
You know,
markings.
and so you go to the vinyl side of it. Well, over here we have like this microscope and it has like a lot of light, so you'll see the detail of this
Sure.
completely. But from here, I see this record has never been played, maybe a couple times, which is true. But that's not gonna get you a 10 because it's been played. I could tell it's been played.
Yep.
So just from it being played, I could see the grooves being worn, and then on a microscope, where you could see this 10,000x, you could see the grooves pretty much
Right.
completely.
I would say those
Um,
really come through at
yeah.
magnification.
So in terms of grading, they look at the corners first. They look at the surface. They scan the whole thing. They look at the vinyl, scan the surface, see if any scratches or blemishes. And if this was sealed, they grade the cellophane, if it's real or not. A lot of people don't know what real cellophane feels like, or every era has different types of cellophane. So if I was grading this, I would give this thing two. There's subgrades when it's open.
Okay.
So the vinyl gets a grade and the sleeve gets a grade. So let's say the vinyl gets graded a 9 and the sleeve gets a 7, which seems what it is. It'll get an accumulative grade, which will be an 8, and you get a green label. So that's how it goes.
Okay.
The
Cool. And so,
red,
well,
the
there's a
red
difference
label,
between, sorry to interrupt, but the
yeah,
media itself, if it's open, like meaning not new and wrapped, you guys grade the media and the case. But if it's sealed, you're just doing the aesthetics of the case. Is that right?
yes, sir. The cellophane has to be prestigious on it, which kind of allures people to resealing, and then we
Mm.
feel if it's
Yep.
a reseal. We know what it feels like. We do a lot of refusal on that. So don't get any ideas out there because you will get a refusal.
Yeah.
Um, and so for us, it's like you're seeing the corners of a sealed record. I think that's the main part. You're seeing the corners, you're seeing the surface, you're seeing the seal, and all of that is just combined in one grade. And make sure that there's no indentations on new records. Sometimes, like someone sent in a Taylor Swift, there was writing on it, so it looked like someone from the shipping plant put a paper on top of it
Oh,
and wrote their order
interesting.
out
Okay.
on
Yeah.
top of it. You'll get grade off that. We could see that,
Yeah.
completely. And the guy was like, "Oh my god, my brand new Taylor Swift vinyl got an 8." Yeah, someone wrote on it. I don't know if you saw it, but we saw it.
Yeah.
So, and to get a 10 in vinyl is very hard.
Yeah.
So anyone out there is like, I got a 10 in vinyl, you might have bought the newest record modern right now, just like a lot of modern cards get 10s.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of modern records will get 10s, but if you got like a 7 in the Beatles album, a 6 in the Beatles album from the 70s, you're still in the high 5%, I would say. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. That's like
So
a grail piece in vintage for sure. That makes sense.
yeah, like a Hank Aaron rookie card, you know what I mean? Like you get a Jackie Robinson, hey, you're freaking above the clouds.
Totally. Yeah. And they're hard to find,
Yeah.
especially in that condition. So, you showed us the vinyl. You've talked about vinyl a lot, but you guys are more than just vinyl, right? You have CDs,
Yes.
tapes, any other media? Talk us through that a
So,
little bit.
so let me talk to you about our brand new innovation, our brand new. I was doing this at the National, just letting people hold it, touch it. Is the brand new Sonic welded cassette case?
Look at that. That's beautiful. So you guys can't see it who are listening, but this looks similar to a PSA slab, as far as clarity. It's thicker, like what you maybe get with, and he's showing off a tape, but it's thicker. It's looking maybe like one of those phantom display acrylic cases, but that looks beautiful and super clean, Rob. That's impressive.
So this took like, I would say, 2 years to R&D this thing.
Wow.
I came up with this top, which is called a pinch top. So it's easier to grab. Like even if you had like like a whole showcase of these.
Totally.
I wouldn't want a flat top because then it's not too, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. So to me, the pinch top made the more sense to just grab it and you could just wave it around and like, hey, yo, what up? It's not gonna fall out of your hand as easy as like if it had like just a flat top. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like a baseball card case where everything's flat.
Right.
This way, when you pinch it, it's less chance of this falling down.
Totally.
And it's so strong. If you go to our AM grading social media, we have a video where we ran it over with a car, and nothing happened to this case. And obviously, I'm not saying it's undestructible. This is acrylic, and you can just bang it out, but you're not gonna be able to open this and put another tape in here.
Yeah.
I guarantee that.
Well,
And that,
it looks beautiful, man. That's a killer product. And when are those in production now, or that's coming?
no, this is in production right now. You're saying your cassette, you're getting it in the new case.
Okay.
Sadly, the old case which I keep here as a memento is obsolete. So,
Okay.
like I said, iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3. Can't keep using an iPhone 1 when there's a newer one.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
And do you have the sonic welding? I know vinyl's way bigger, and then CDs, is that for those media as well, or just right now with the tapes?
Yeah, we do have Sonic Weld vinyl. So that's been out for like I would say 4 or 5 months now.
Okay.
We have a modern Sonic Weld case that's coming out this week actually. So
Oh, cool.
that's for thicker vinyl for gatefolds, 180 milligram records, 2LP records, newer type releases that you could get on Vinyl Me Please, stuff like that. Just I wanted to a vinyl slab that could fit pretty much like most of the industry standard, which even from vintage to modern. So that's why we call the vintage case the skinnier case, and the modern slab is for the newer stuff. So thick,
Yep.
skinny.
Yep.
And that's what people didn't understand too. A lot of the companies when they came out, they only came out with one product. Like we're only grading vinyl, we're only grading cassettes. And me, I was more like, let's grade it all. And the best thing about AMG, we have full customizable ability. Like we could customize anything you could think of. You could send in a design of how you want it encapsulated, and the engineers here will figure it out.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
that's the difference between us and any other of our competitors. I mean, we bought our the number two already. We bought tuned in grading,
Yep.
and we brought whatever they had in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like we're the number one. We're the PSA of record grading. Like if you really want the best value, if you want the best slabs, best research, anything, AMG is the place to go. It's everything that you need to get done for music media. We could do it all.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. And, it's really taken off in the past 12 months. I've seen a lot more sort of awareness about this space. So can you maybe talk to us about where you've sort of found that success and what's helped build that awareness for the brand?
Definitely, I would say Steve.
Okay.
Steve's a marketing genius,
Yeah.
and his network is very high. Obviously, getting your product out there as much as possible, getting people to believe in your product, and our social media is guerrilla tactics out there, man. Like we're out there with the people. You see me out there. I'm
Yeah,
out
man, you're
there
hustling.
constantly talking to everyone I can, and kind of telling people why they should go with AMG, why they should believe in our product. That's all I'm telling people. You know what I mean? How passionate we are. We're music people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not collectibles people. We're music people at AMG,
Yep.
and we know music. So to me, it's like, what better company to go to than the people that are in the music industry, our connections to the music industry, our connections to the auction houses, our connections to estates, our connections, everyone in those spaces kind of feel like we are the company to go to work with. We have
Yep.
worked, as you know, with some pretty heavy hitters,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what I think we bring to the table: the reputation and the full transparency of being a third party authenticator.
That's great. That's super cool. And I mean, congrats on all the success you've had in a relatively short amount of time. It's been really impressive. But as we all know, that starting a business is not always an easy thing and smooth sailing. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that have come your way and how have you overcome them?
So I would say the biggest challenge at first was, working out of another company and trying to show them a proof of concept. AMG. It wasn't
Right.
always like you see now we have sonic welding. We're working with bigger people, but in the beginning, it was very hard. It was just like me, Kenny, Christian coming up with the grading scale, like not having the capability to produce the product that you want to that's in your head,
Right.
or the financial ability to do so
Hmm.
was kind of frustrating for me, I would say. But it's all about showing proof and concept, showing proof in research and knowledge, showing proof that you know what you're doing. And so that was like the first year of AMG. It was kind of like that proof of concept showcase, and can we get people to submit to us?
Hmm.
And yeah, we were probably, the minute Steve announced it and dropped it, we were like, oh my god,
This is
we were,
happening.
yeah, like we were running around with like, like, oh my god, we need to get cases ready, because at the time we were making cases by hand,
Wow.
by
Im-
hand.
Impressive.
So so when I'm telling you, like, it's hard, and a vinyl record used to take us 30 minutes to make by hand, so you were getting a handmade product at that
Wow.
time.
Yeah.
Now it takes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Well, your
so
demand has gone up. You can't, you got to scale. And so that's part of it, right?
so yeah, the scaling aspect of it, getting people to invest is also another thing where you need to sit down with people. They need to believe in your vision and how you see this company moving in the next 5 years, and kind of telling them your ideas and where it's going to go. And so all of that takes place during from year one. Right now AMG's in year three, and this is a different type of AMG than that year one AMG. Like, we had a totally different logo, and what I will share with you is we're turning into another being in the next few months. AMG is becoming something else even more, like,
Okay.
because more things are being developed. But I will tell you, there will be a branding change, and more sonic weld cases will be out. It'll be completely uniformed, and we're always trying to push the envelope on how many things we can do in terms of making it easier to scale, using the best acrylics, the best research teams, the best, whatever you want to call it, social media out there right now for AMG. Like, if you're looking for music grading collectible social media, you got to go to the AM grading site. It's the best place to go to it. And I have other ideas. I have a 5-year plan, and it's way even bigger than this. To
Sure.
me, this is culture.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm selling culture. That's what I'm doing. And for me, it's not just putting stuff in plastic. I
Yeah.
mean, that's as simple as it gets, but I'm selling way more than that. It's an emotional attachment to this product for me. I'm trying to make it as best as possible.
Yeah, and it shows. I mean, the product itself in hand, I got to see it at the national, and what you just showed the audience, it's impressive, and you can tell that you guys' attention to detail and the quality of the product is something that you guys take seriously. It's not just like, hey, how many can we crank out? It's like, yeah, that's important, but it's about hey, this is going to someone else who loves this piece, and I want to put whatever it is in their hand, and they're proud of it, and it's a piece that's super quality, and that's really awesome and a testament to all your hard work, Robbie. So job well done, man.
Thanks.
You mentioned a little bit about sort of your future goals. Can you share with us anything else that's sort of upcoming or exciting as far as the next few months, 12 months, couple years? What does that sort of look like for you guys?
I would say in the years leading up to this, we're looking into getting into the editorial space.
Okay.
And the one thing I'm really excited about AMG in the next few months is the site that we have now is still my iPhone 1, right? So I'm skipping the iPhone 3, 4, and 5. And in the next, I would say maybe late August or early September, you will see a brand new AMG site. And it's
Awesome.
and there's gonna be new elements to it. It's gonna look way more, up to speed to what sites are now for grading companies, and I'm excited for that. I got a couple of projects coming up, and you'll see them. One's at Golden with a major rapper.
All right.
I can't say his name right now, but you will see it. It's a major project we're doing at Golden. Some estates that want to work with us, and I can't release the names on that, but
Sure.
very huge estates. We're talking, top of the class. And I would say one thing I can say is I think around third quarter, you might see the brand new Sonic welded CD case. You
Awesome.
know, so that's very exciting to me to showcase that case.
Yeah.
I think CDs was a medium from me and you from our era. I think the most consumption we did was cassettes and CDs. The
100%.
the vinyl was short pressed in the '90s. It was kind of, I would say, dying out. Like it
Yeah.
died out a little bit, and then now it's coming back with the Gen Z and stuff. They're
Hmm.
collecting it, which is amazing. Shout out to Gen Z for bringing back vinyl. Um, and for me, just bringing new products. Me and Ski are working on something that has to do with microphones.
Okay.
So we're gonna do a lot of collaborations, and who knows? Maybe third quarter you'll see AMG product on the record label sites with your favorite artists.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's exciting. And it sounds like you got some good things. And I have it up on screen, but on IG at AM grading or audiomediagrading.com. So it sounds like people should be keeping an eye out on both of those for some of these announcements that you mentioned. That's really cool. Hey, so I know that running this business has been a grind and a ton of hard work, but you've come a long way, like you said. So can you take sort of a step back to reflect and let us know what's been the most rewarding thing for you, at AMG?
I think the most rewarding thing has been meeting the customer base, and getting to know them, and being able to finally preserve things that really mean a lot to them. And I think that's been the most rewarding aspect of my job. Just kind of, people that tell me, "Thank God you did this," because we've been waiting,
Yeah,
dude. Like we thought it was never gonna happen. We thought it never come to fruition, but ultimately, I think I don't even know why this pillar wasn't made before even video games or comic books. I think it was as a little child,
yeah,
I thought it was gonna be sports cards and a music rating. That's what I thought as a little kid. I'm like,
sure.
can't wait. And yeah, imagine just years and years passing, and then you finally get to hear all these voices telling you, thanks, dude. Like someone finally did it, someone finally achieved it. And whether or not like an AMG exists in the future or not, or this doesn't become a thing or whatever, I truly believe it's the next medium to blow up. And these people finally got to preserve their national treasures, their holy grails. And I think that's been the big thank you to me when I meet those type of people. They're like, thank you, dude. Thank you, AMG Robbie, for doing this. And I'm like, and me, I'm just like, thanks, Steve Aoki, dude. Like Steve had
But
the
it's so cool though, like you said, you've been passionate about music, you've had a lot of stops along the way to get to this point, but to be able to continue to drive what your vision was and your passion, and then to have people validate that to you, that's special and that's really rewarding. And I think that's really cool, that you're able to do that for people. That's awesome. Hey, so I know, I want to be respectful of your time. And this has been an amazing conversation. I appreciate it. But I always like to ask my guests to leave the audience sort of with one last golden piece of advice. So if you could give an aspiring collector or entrepreneur that one piece of advice, what would you tell them?
to never have fear in your heart. Once you eliminate fear in your mind, anything can be a possibility.
I love that. That's awesome. And I think that you are a testament to that, man. You've gone for it and it's come true. So very cool. So hey, any other sort of projects, events that you're going to be at that you want to let the audience know about?
Oh my God, yeah. So we'll be at Investabilia in Dallas, August 16th through the 18th. So when we're in person at these shows, you could come and drop off 100, 1,000 vinyls, tapes, whatever. We do 8-track CDs. You can bring as much as you want. We'll take care of the shipping.
Okay, cool.
Um, so the next one is Investabilia in Dallas, August 16th and 18th. I will be in New York for Fanatics Fest, the 16th and 18th. So I will not be in Dallas. I think that's the next one. Then we got Burbank Car Show after that. And so I think those are the next three.
Okay.
If you're on the West Coast and you want to drop off something, or you're on the East Coast, you could even hit me up in New York and meet me at Bleecker Trading, where I use as a little headquarters. Shout out to Mark Zablo. And you could drop off your stuff there and I'll take care of it for you.
Killer. That's great. And before I let you go, Robbie, where can the audience find you? I know I've got a banner up for them, but for those that are listening, you want to give them a shout out of where they can find you?
Yeah, you could follow us on social media at AM Grading on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can find me at AMG Robbie if you got any questions about AM grading or whatever we do, set up drop-offs or anything like that. And those are the things that I think those are the things where you can find me at. Yeah. And you could also just Google audio media grading and find our website, or audiomediagrading.com.
Cool. Well, Robbie, this has been an amazing conversation, really inspiring. And I appreciate you taking time out to talk with myself and our audience. And, again, mad shout out and props to you and the team for where you've come and where you're going, because it's really impressive. So I wish you all the best. I hopefully will see you at one of those shows here in the near future. Thank you and be well, my friend.
Thank you. And remember, sound becomes legend. That's our tagline.
I love it. I love it. Have a great day, man.
You too, brother.
Everyone out there, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. I hope that you learned something new and found some inspiration. And if you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, rate us, and of course, share with your friends. And remember, keep collecting, keep hustling, and we'll see you next week on Hobby Hustle, where collection passion and business collide. Thanks for listening.
Hobby Hustle is brought to you by Collector Creative. If you're a collectible brand or company looking for help with marketing, branding, design, or development, head over to collectorcreative.com and drop Zach a line. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at collector_creative. And be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Hobby Hustle, where collecting passion and business collide.